Who are the greatest bass players in the world? Quick Google search, some top 50 lists from some online music mags. The same names come up over and over again. James Jamerson, John Entwistle, Carol Kay, Flea, Bootsy Collins, Tina Weymouth, Paul McCartney. You know whose name doesn't come up? Guy Berryman of Coldplay. And honestly, isn't that a little strange? Coldplay, one might argue, is the most successful band of the 21st century, having sold more than 100 million albums, won more than 300 awards, and racked up at least 9 songs that have broken 1 billion streams. And I don't think you can pull that off without a really great bass player. Guy Berryman may not have the zany, magnetic stage presence of Flea. He's not known for rippin' virtuosic bass solos like Victor Wooten. His tone isn't full of gnarly, in-your-face effects like Bootsy Collins. But when you're part of a band with quarter-century staying power, navigating all sorts of genres from alt-rock to pop, sharing the stage with megastars like Beyoncé, Rihanna, and BTS, dominating the airwaves with smash hit after smash hit, what's important for a bass player to do? What's important for a bass player in any band? It's not necessarily the solos, the fills, the acrobatics. Play your part. Play it well, in time, with great tone. And for my money, it's hard to do that better than Guy Berryman. I have 2 questions. 1, who is Guy Berryman? And 2, what is his contribution to and impact on pop and rock music? We're going to look at 5 of Coldplay's biggest, most influential songs and see how their bass lines work. But before we proceed, a couple items of business. First, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And second, a quick disclaimer. It may be difficult for me to talk objectively about Coldplay because they were one of my favorite bands when I was in high school and college. Parachutes, A Rush of Blood to the Head, X and Y, Viva La Vida, those albums were the soundtrack to my soul. And I'll admit to some frustration in my more hot-headed 20s when they changed their sound and started sounding less like a rock group and more like a pop act, bringing in collaborators like Rihanna and Beyoncé and dabbling in EDM. When you're young, sometimes you just want your favorite rock band to be a rock band. But you know what? I think I get it now. You see, it's actually a mistake to call Coldplay's career an evolution from alt-rock to pop. What it actually is an evolution from niche to eclecticism. Coldplay's early period, lyrically and metatextually, can be understood as an exploration of the self, expressed through yearning, bittersweet ennui. But late Coldplay is an arms-wide-open celebration of everything. Community, diversity, big tent togetherness.
The first few years, you're trying to make yourself feel different to everybody else. But in the last few years, I feel like the journey has just been to remind me and us that we're all in the same tribe, on the same little planet in space.
We're in this together. We're one big band.
It's not that they went pop, they went far and wide. And their albums include not only Max Martin pop smashes, but also folk music, choral music, classical music, EDM, hip-hop, and, yes, rock. And nowhere is this better expressed than in their song Kaleidoscope from their 2015 album A Head Full of Dreams. This track is mostly instrumental, but it features a reading from Coleman Barks of his translation of The Guest House, a poem by 13th century Persian poet Rumi, which I will recite for you now in its abridged form. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Now, one of the things I found most interesting when researching for this video is the way this openness, this eclecticism, is reflected in the life of bass player Guy Berryman. Guy Berryman is not just a bass player. He's a collector of vintage clothing and a designer of industrial chic workwear.
We use a lot of cotton called Ventile for our outerwear, which was a fabric developed for fighter pilots.
This is a
70-year-old jacket which was made, you know, in about 1950 for the Royal Air Force.
He's a restorer of classic automobiles and a connoisseur of fine watches.
Well, this is quite an interesting one. This is their 60th anniversary of the Carrera watch.
He was once a student of architecture and at another time, a student pilot. He's the father of 3 children. He's a magazine editor and a business owner. If you thought that the bass player of the biggest band in the world would just eat, sleep, breathe music 24/7, you'd be wrong. Growing up in Kirkcaldy, Scotland, Berryman was drawn to music and bass playing primarily through his love of Motown and soul music, though that influence is not immediately obvious in Coldplay's discography. He met his future bandmates at University College London in 1997, and they've been together ever since as one of those rare examples of a massive band whose lineup has never really changed. In interviews and archival footage, he comes across as the quiet one out of 3 quiet ones. While Chris Martin vaults across the stage in ecstatic motion, Berryman stands, like his counterpart on guitar, Johnny Buckland, stoic and relaxed, his tone clean, his parts simple yet solid and tight. He eschews attention. In fact, he's been known to take jogs around the venue before a show, past lines and lines of fans, without even getting noticed. Behind the scenes, though, he's allegedly a bit of a firebrand, butting heads with frontman Chris Martin more than the other bandmates.
In the early days, I think there used to be a lot more arguments, particularly between Chris and myself.
I don't know why. Not as scared as all of us are of Guy.
All told, though, he seems to be, as they all seem to be, a mild-mannered rich dad who's just grateful to have the life he does.
We've probably traveled to more places than we would have traveled in 50 lifetimes. But of course, you know, life is very different for us now because we've got, you know, there's lots of children.
As I mentioned, he's a bit of a Renaissance man. He runs an automotive magazine called The Road Rat, and he's the founder of Amsterdam-based fashion brand Applied Art Forms.
So this is our modular parka system, which comes with several different elements. This is the main shell.
He's the only member of Coldplay with a personal social media account, and he uses it to promote his clothing company rather than music. Berryman is also a member of another band called Apparatchik. Apparatchik are a supergroup made up of other successful European musicians, such as the lead singer from Mew and the keyboardist from a-ha. The band formed in 2008 to contribute a song to a benefit album in support of tribal peoples. They've since released 2 albums, and their latest single came out in 2020. How to describe them? Oh, here's a helpful graphic. This is the cover of their first album, We Are Here. So, somewhere between unpredictable and unstable and too simple. So, experimental but not too crazy? Unless you look at their YouTube channel, in which case it gets a bit crazy.
If the word art is put before the letters ICULATE, and you then add the word music, that would make articulate music. All is meaningful. Humans are beautiful. So are humanoids.
I honestly can't tell how much this is heady avant-garde versus just some guys messing around. Berryman's musical contribution to Apparatchik is hard to pin down. He's credited as the bassist and a writer on all the songs, but most of their songs have synth bass parts, which are written more like keyboard parts than bass guitar parts. Berryman does play the keyboard. At any rate, their streaming numbers suggest this band has never been heavily marketed and is likely a fun passion project for everyone involved. So to answer the question, who is Guy Berryman and how has his bass playing shaped the world, Apparatchik unfortunately doesn't offer much insight. Which means it's time for the main event. Let's look at Coldplay's 5 most successful bass lines. In choosing the big 5, I used the following criteria. To get on this list, a song had to 1. Chart in the top 10 in either the US or the UK, 2. Have over 1 billion streams on Spotify, and 3. The bass line has to be played on bass guitar rather than synth, which disqualifies some of their biggest hits, like Something Just Like This, Paradise, My Universe, and honestly, not including Paradise on this list hurts me real bad, because that is a rad bass line. Are these big 5 the best Coldplay bass lines? You tell me in the comments. Are they my personal favorites? No, though I will tell you what mine are, as sort of an arbitrary honorable mention. So here are Mike's top 3. What I like about this one is it just grooves so hard. It's simple, but it's fat, it's heavy, and I just like it a lot. As I was preparing for this video and learning these lines, it struck me that this walk down here, I never quite knew what was going on there music theory wise, and what it turns out to be is we're in the key of C sharp minor, and that's F sharp, F, E, D sharp. So what it is in scale step wise is 4, major 3, minor 3, 2. So it's switching back and forth between the parallel major and minor, which I always love.
Magic. Call it true. Call it magic. When I'm with you.
This is probably Coldplay's trickiest bass line to play. Not because it's terribly difficult. In fact, it's simpler than I even thought it was all these years having listened to it, because there's this interplay with the kick and the low root note here where it sounds like they're alternating. I always thought this bass line was doing something like, but it's not. It just sounds so complicated because it is so syncopated. And this is where Berryman really shines, in my opinion, is that these bass lines are simple, but sometimes the timing of them requires just this lockstep with the drummer. If your sense of time is not good, it's hard to play a Coldplay bass line a lot of the time because of just how syncopated it is. Most Coldplay songs, as I understand it, Chris Martin writes a song and then he teaches it to the band and they come up with the parts and the arrangement and everything. This one's an exception. This one apparently Guy Berryman began from this riff and that inspired the top line.
For a long time I've been saying it, Guy, I know that you write music sometimes on your own. He's like, no, you won't like it, you won't like it. Then one day he very quietly came over to me in our studio and said, oh Chris, you know, we did this jam yesterday that I think you should listen to. And he did, and it was the beginning of that song Magic.
So that's cool. Again, with the syncopation thing, this bass line is actually entirely not even on the offbeats, but between the offbeats. 1, 2, 3, It's hard to play timing-wise, but in terms of what your left hand is doing, it's all just right here, little hammer-ons. It's fun, but it wouldn't be hard to play on stage if you can lock in that timing. Okay, so now that we've got my favorites out of the way, it's time for the big 5. Coming in at number 5 with just over 1 billion streams on Spotify at the time of this recording, this song charted at number 13 in the US and number 7 in the UK, was one of 2 smash hits from the 2015 album A Head Full of Dreams, and has been known to cause impromptu chimpanzee dance parties. It's Adventure of a Lifetime! Funkier than usual, late stage Coldplay embracing more styles, a little bit of this, you know, pop, disco, whatever you call this. It's fun, I like it. And coming in at number 4 with 1.5 billion streams on Spotify, this song charted at number 4 in the UK and probably saved Coldplay's career by rescuing the otherwise frustrating production of the 2005 album X and Y. This song was a tender tribute to Gwyneth Paltrow's late father, and the organ part is played on his synthesizer. This is Fix You! This one was interesting to learn because I for sure thought that it was going to be, you know, with those guitars. And when I listened to it on the record, this is what I hear. Tears stream down your, just whole notes. But when I watched him do it live, he was doing this sort of syncopated pattern with the kick drum, which is probably more fun in a live show than just holding out whole notes, but on the record, it might just be those whole notes. Coming in at number 3 with 1.9 billion streams, this song charted at number 10 in the UK and number 61 on Billboard's Best Pop Songs Never to Hit the Hot 100 list. The second single from Coldplay's sophomore album, A Rush of Blood to the Head, the music video does that cool forwards-backwards thing from Tenet, and the piano part has been played in every dorm lobby in the world. It's The Scientist.
I was just guessing at numbers and figures, putting the puzzles apart.
Unsurprising for a ballad like this, it's just eighth notes on the root. It's just eighth notes on the root. That's all there is to it. I'd be tempted to add some embellishment. Octaves, walk-ups, walk-downs, fills. He doesn't. The simplest bass line you could think of. The first answer. The right answer. Coming in at number 2 with 2.4 billion streams, this song charted at number 50 in the US and number 4 in the UK. Coldplay's international breakthrough hit, it has a nonsense placeholder lyric for a hook that never got updated. It's Yellow! It's eighth notes on the root. It's just eighth notes on the root. And at this point in the video, you might be like, Mike, this is why Guy Berryman's not on the lists of best bass players in the world. Because all he does is just these really simple bass lines. No. No. Here's the thing. You might think, eighth notes on the root, anyone can do that. No. I can't do that. I can't just do that. You hand me a song, you say, produce this. You invite me into your band and you say, play this bass line. I am going to be screaming inside to do something else. You know, to do the walk-ups, to do the octaves, to do the fills, anything. It feels disgusting to do that. I'm ruining it. I'm ruining the song right there. Because eighth notes on the root is what it needs. And the thing is, I know he can do more complicated stuff. Like, here's the bass line from X and Y. And this is the big lesson that I've been taking from this whole research experience and going through all these bass lines is just calm down. You know, as a bass player, I want to be seen. I want to be, you know, heard and felt. And I want people to be like, oh, impressive. Oh, funky. Oh, groovy. Not Guy Berryman. He doesn't even want to be seen. He just wants to be there, part of it, doing his thing. And that is why no one will remember my name.
That's why no one will remember your name.
And people might not even remember Guy Berryman's name, but they'll remember Yellow. And finally, coming in at number 1 with 2.3 billion streams, it topped the charts in both the US and the UK and features a church bell that Will Champion bought off eBay. The highest grossing pop song about a fictional deposed king ever written, it's Viva la Vida! I find it interesting that Guy Berryman finds such fascination in things like the gears of a watch, the fibers of a fabric, the motor of a car. Things that work mechanically, repeatably, in very utilitarian fashion. And that describes a lot of his bass lines. They work in this band because that's also how Chris Martin plays piano a lot of the time. It's how Will Champion plays the drums. It fits. And it gives a very stable foundation on which to overlay Johnny's very lyrical, atmospheric guitar parts, Chris Martin's very expressive lyrical voice. If I had to play a set of just Coldplay songs with these bass lines that are just eighth notes on the root, following a simple 4-chord progression, it'd be mindful, it'd be meditative. And I'm encouraged, having gone through all these bass lines, to look for the beauty in the simplicity, in the mechanical, in the repeatable. And I have a sudden desire to buy a fancier watch. Folks, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like on this video before you go, subscribe to the channel, and the best way you can support the channel is to become a donating member on Patreon. Hope you all have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time.